All right, all right, all right. Welcome to the Second Chance Live Show. It's your boy D Stents, and I am back again. I got my friend Joe with me, man. You guys are gonna love him. This guy is phenomenal, man. I think I heard him speak on Clubhouse, and I got a little bit offended because his voice was deeper than mine, and so then I had to kind of lower it a little bit, you know. And I was like, man, this guy's a cool guy. He had some great stuff to say. Kind of start chatting in the DMs and like, man, I'm like, I love to have you on the show to just inspire. I love bringing on athletes who know what it's like to be competitive, to overcome obstacles. And one of the things I love about Joe's story is that he went from college to now being in a wheelchair and being an elite athlete. And man, he's got so many dips and bumps in his story that I can't wait to learn more, Joe. And so, guys, I encourage you right now just to hit the share button. We titled this episode "Finding Your Path," because when life throws you curves, you got to find new paths. I mean, the pandemic did that to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, it gave people like forget plan B, like people are on like plan C and D now. And like I was just looking the other day, and in Georgia, and I know other states have this too, but there's this gas crisis, and I'm like, nobody expected this. Like, life will throw you things you didn't expect, but it's how you adjust and how you respond that really matters. And Joe's story is like that. So I'm going to read his bio, and I encourage you guys to share, and we're just going to have a fun conversation today. If you're watching the replay, you can connect with him. We'll give you information on how to reach out to him, and if you want to learn more about his story. And I know this may be the beginning of many conversations we have with Joe. So he's now his 12th year. Man, you look super young, but he's now in his 12th year playing for the U.S. wheelchair rugby national team. He knows the meaning of overcoming obstacles after sustaining a life-altering spinal cord injury on July 10, 2004. So I had mine in 2009, so a little bit after you. He loves to spread his story about his journey from college football player to life in a wheelchair to elite athlete. Along with his many medals and accolades, he can proudly proclaim that he is the only athlete to ever earn the USQRA Athlete of the Year award twice. I had to look that up because I had no clue what that was, but man, phenomenal. He has a passion for leadership and has served as co-captain of the United States of America wheelchair rugby team for 7 years. Y'all, like, join me in welcoming Joe to the stage. Joe, man, I'd love to just like hop right in and like take us to like college, and how did you get from there to where you are today?
First of all, thanks for having me on the show. Second of all, like, we are brothers from a different mother, because anytime my man gets up here with like the gap power, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got
yeah.
Like, and my mom always told me that means beauty, and man, like, hey, I got a beautiful dude right here with me. But yeah, so like, it's
question. So you took me there. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I don't always get to talk to fellow gappers, But do you know your like, have you ever done like ancestry? Do you know where your like ancestors are from?
I'm a mixed dude. So my mom is European white. My dad is African American, and so we got this mixed whole deal going on. Yeah.
So true story. I used to get made fun of a lot for my gap. I told people the other day that they used to try to kick paper footballs through my gap, right? Anyways, I was super insecure about it until one day I was doing a training with this lady. Her name's Yawandi. I don't know if she's watching, but she's from Nigeria, and I was talking about high performance and all this stuff, and she came and talked about health and nutrition, and she heard me tell the story about my gap, and she pulled me aside later and was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "That's crazy, because in Nigeria, the width of your gap often determines what tribe you come from, and sometimes the more wide it is, the more respect you have." And I was like, "What?" So then I did Ancestry DNA, found out I was Nigerian, and I was like, "See, I'm probably a chief or something, you know what I mean?" Anyways, man. So
I love that.
Side note, but go. Continue, man. Continue.
Yeah. So, we were back. I think you asked about college and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And man, I've been an athlete since I was could walk, type of thing. I just love sports and just found myself naturally just loving them and loving to play them and watching them and the whole thing. And a lot of that, I think, looking back, was built up around built-in affirmation from coaches. You can get constructive criticism, you can get praise if you do good. Like, it's just built-in structure there, and that's something that I really craved. And so ended up becoming a college football player at a Division II school as a tight end, and standing 6'6", 260 pounds by the end of my freshman year, and feeling, invincible. Like, that was my identity, and it was wrapped up in that, and that was who I was in that. And like, I was living out my dream and my goal and the whole thing. In college, I had no idea what I wanted to do after that, and that didn't really matter. Like, that was my dream, goal, passion. I felt like that was my purpose, as being a football player. I know, looking back now, I'm like, oh, that's kind of silly, but like, if my kid was like, my kid's 9, I was like, my passion is sports. Okay, next, what after,
Right.
but like, at 19, that was
you're
it.
not thinking about that. Yeah. Keep going, man.
Well, so yeah, I'm just like, okay, do I need to, yeah, I'll keep going. You just tell me to shut. You just tell me to shut up then. Once, but no. But so, in between my freshman and sophomore years of college, I went back to my hometown of Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, which is a small little river town in southwest Wisconsin on the Mississippi River, bordering Iowa. Little out in the middle of nowhere type of deal. But went back there to train and work and that whole deal. And that summer, on July 10th, 2004, my life changed. I was out on the river with my two best friends growing up, and in high school, Adam and Kyle. We grew up in the same street together, Ohio Street. We had a pretty cool gang with it. No, we didn't. It was like white, tiny little. No, anyway. But like, we're growing up together and doing our thing. And a lot of what we did was be on the river and fish and kneeboard and that whole thing. And we did plenty of dumb things in the river. But that day, we're just kneeboarding. Adam's kneeboarding. Kyle's driving the boat. I'm sitting in the boat, just chilling. 75 degrees, my hands behind my head, partly cloudy. And Kyle, you never know how deep or shallow the back sloughs in the Mississippi River are. We weren't in the main channel. We had this tiny little boat, so the little dinghy in the main in the back channel, what we called sloughs. And so we're cruising, and he hits the bottom of the river accidentally. I fly backwards. The chair breaks, fly backwards, hit my head in the front of the boat, inside the boat, and break my neck at the C6 and 7 level, 6 and 7 vertebrae down from the base of your skull. And so in a split second, I had this football identity that I'm 6'6", 260 pounds, living life, living out my dream. And in a split second, I'm laying on this boat, paralyzed. I didn't know it at the time yet, but like, I couldn't move. And life is going to be very, very different from there on out.
Yeah. Man, number one, like, first of all, like, glad you're here and all that. You just reaffirmed my commitment to never whitewater raft again, or anything that puts my life at risk. People keep trying to get me to do it. They're like, oh, I'll do zip lining and whitewater and sky. I'm like, I'm not playing, because I'm too big for all of that. I'm too big. That stuff is for little people. So anyways, man, but okay, so walk me through the emotional roller coaster and the spiritual battle of this just got ripped away from me. When did you find out that you'd be in a wheelchair, and how did you handle that and still persevere?
Yeah, it was a process. And there was nuggets along the way, but I don't want to like leave out the anger and the pain and the sadness and the madness, and you're trying to figure out what all this is, because I think that's real. Like, everyone doesn't go through what I went through, but most people go through something in their life that knocks them down and takes their breath away, and they're mad at God, and they're angry at someone, or they're playing the blame game and pushing someone away, and that's real. Like, and multiple times in your life, you're going to do that. That whole thing is real. Like, we're made with emotion for a reason. And so when that negative emotion comes in, or maybe it's not even negative, but that anger and that madness, the whole thing comes in, you've got to deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it, and that's seeds of resentment, that's seeds of bitterness, that's seeds of envy and jealousy. And it's just a bad road to go down. But anyway, I end up getting from the boat to the rescue boat to the ambulance to the hospital. They tell me all kinds of stuff like, you have a spinal cord injury, you broke your neck, blah, 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 C6 and 7, incomplete. They're talking fast. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, stop. What's going on? And my head's excruciating because my head was split open. And thank God I didn't have a brain injury, but head split open down to the skull. And they're going, Joe, we got to get you on a helicopter and med flight you up to the local bigger hospital so they can do surgery on your neck. And so we get a 6-hour surgery, and they're like, man, you're a big boy. You were hard to roll over. Like after, later the doctor was like, man, you're like 4 or 5 guys trying to roll you over the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, probably had to get like 2. Yeah. Anyway, but it wasn't until a couple more days I kind of came to and realized was what was going on. I had tubes coming out of my body, laying in this hospital bed out of each whatever crevice, and the doctors come in, my parents are in there, and they're like, hey, what's the deal? What's going on? Tell us what's up. And they said, hey, Joe, you've got a spinal cord injury, and which means you're paralyzed, and you'll probably be paralyzed from the chest down. And you are a C6 and 7 fused incomplete quadriplegic. And I'm like, what? Like, what does that mean? I don't understand. I got football practice in a month. So like, whatever you guys got to do to fix me up and get me out, like that was the mentality. And they said, Joe, like, you're not going to be able to play football again, man. You got like a 3% chance to walk again. And we just don't see it happening the way that your MRI and your x-rays went. Like that's probably not a thing. And I just became angry, man. Like, you at 19, you already have all these questions in your head, and it's a very like romantic time because you're dreaming about who you want to be, and you're dreaming about who you want to be with, and how many kids you're going to have, and what kind of job you're going to get, and where's God going to lead me, and that whole thing. And then that's just ripped away, and those questions are amplified, and they almost seem like those questions come with like no's to everything. Like, nah, you're not going to be able to do that. Nah, you're not going to be able to do it. And I'm just, man, I'm going, God, like what? And my parents are in there. My mom's asking the doctor questions. I remember hearing her like whispering, doctor, hey, is my son going to be able to have sex? Cause I want grandkids. So I'm like, mom, come on, get out. Like, come on, get out of my room. But like, get out of my room. And then doc, come back in. Let's talk about that real quick. Like, because that's the realness of the situation. Am I going to be able to enjoy a marriage and enjoy being a father and that whole thing? And there was this Bible verse that came up on July 3rd, a week before my accident. I was wearing this Don Beebe House of Speed shirt. Don Beebe was a little white, like he was like Julian Edelman before Julian Edelman was Julian Edelman type of deal. He played in the 90s for the Buffalo Bills and lost all those Super Bowls, and played for the Packers and won a Super Bowl. And so he had this Wisconsin camp. I didn't go. I was a tight end, and I was like, I don't know, a cheeseburger away from being a tackle. So like, I got this shirt from my kicker when I had forgotten a shirt during a football game. And he gave it to me and was, joking around like Joe Slow, blah, blah, blah. Even the receiver coach was always like, talking to the receivers like, Joe can get open on these routes. Like, why can't you guys? Like, that dude is the slowest guy. And I'm like, come on, like, you can have a real compliment, not a bad. But on this shirt, I was at a basketball camp July 3rd, 2004, a week before my accident. And on this shirt, this coach was like, hey, what's that Bible verse? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, oh, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he'll direct your paths. And I'm like, wow, that's really neat. That's really neat. A week later, I break my neck. And that's like one of the first things I remember. My sisters ended up putting it on my wall. And from there on in the hospital, it was a constant battle between truly believing that and then my reality of what do you mean trust in you? What do you mean lean out on like I want to understand. I like I can trust in you, but I want to know the plan. You know, and a lot of times we have that, and like we want to know, hey, we got a 5-year plan, God, with like 24 PowerPoint. The slide deck's beautiful, man. God, let me show you this. Let me run this through, and then and it doesn't go our way, and you're like, wait a second, wait, this wasn't my plan. Like I'm cool with your plan, but as long as it's my plan, and and that was me, and I'm angry, going like, no. I'm not gonna trust in you. I'm not gonna lean. I want to understand what's going on, and really at the heart of it is like, God, you know me. You know my passion for sports. This is the way you made me, and now you took that away. Why? And that's where the anger came in, and a lot of the pain that I was struggling with came in.
Man, I love that you went there, and man, you're bringing me back because sometimes I forget the anger and the wrestling part, you know, because I so desperately just want people to know that there's hope beyond those moments. But you've obviously turned that pain into purpose and passion, and scripture is a big part of it. One of the things that was interesting to me when I was like preparing for this interview is just, I know you got your degree in counseling, and what made you want to learn counseling practices, and how has that played a role in your mental health as you live this out?
Yeah, it was kind of a long path to get there. My undergrad is in pastoral studies, and I never really wanted to be a pastor, but I wanted to get that education on how to shepherd people. Because every leader is a servant, and every leader is a shepherd. And so I'm just going, okay, like what's this look like? And then I started playing rugby, and that whole thing, that whole story, and finding rugby, and getting to be an athlete again. But doing it, I was like, well, like I said before, like I need to do something after this. Like it can't just be, can't play rugby until I'm dead, like type of thing. Like I want to do something after this. And I'm like, I really like counseling. I went through a lot of things mentally, obviously physically, but mentally, that I hope that I can talk to people about and share with people about. And so I went through that whole process, and it really, at the end of the day with counseling, I did private practice for 3 years. I had an amazing mentor, a guy named Dr. Michael down in Phoenix, Arizona. And it was really, I really feel like God led me through that specifically individually for me, and then to help gain some knowledge and some wisdom for my career in speaking. But it was really, really important for me to get that education and to understand about codependency, to understand about, because a lot of times, like I grew up with, my mom like raised us in a Christian home, but like she was like, and there's spiritual warfare, and and like all the mental health stuff are kind of quacky type of thing. You know, like I'd come home with an algebra problem, and she'd be like, I'm like, can you help me with this? She's like, Jesus is the answer. That's the answer. I'm like, Mom, you can't. I'm like I can't write that.
They're about to flunk
Like
out of
that
school.
yeah, they're gonna give me an F plus on that one. Yeah. But
Oh, God.
I really understood the value of understanding that there was a lot of thoughts, feelings, emotions that penetrate us, and then understanding how to combat those, so you can respond to them and react to them and go, oh, wait a second, no, like, I'm feeling like a failure today, but that doesn't make me a failure. Man, I'm feeling sad today, but that doesn't make me just a depressed, anxiety ridden dude. and so like that was really important with just understanding that a lot of insecurities and inadequacies that when I became a father that I listened to sometimes and go, you can't be a father in a wheelchair. You can't even throw a baseball like 20 feet, man. Come on. And realizing now that doesn't make a good father, like presence and love does. And so it was definitely looking back something that I needed personally, even though I was doing it to try to help other people, and certainly have gained a lot of knowledge and wisdom to do that.
Man, that's powerful. And man, what do you? It's so okay. I don't want to assume, but to me, there's this kind of like, I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. It's when you play. How competitive is wheelchair rugby, and what is that like compared to D2 football?
The amount of skill and physicality that it takes to play this game is like any other elite sport on the elite level anyway. I mean, yeah, we got this like the recreational leagues that is basically like, beer softball league type of thing, but then on the national level, it's no joke. When we're in our chairs and we're playing a full game, if we played a full game, it'd be about 5 to 6 miles of start stop sprinting. Like it's a lot. And that's doing it with us not having two fists our body working type of deal. So like it's wild. And then when you see it right away from the physicality standpoint, and this is what really led me to the sport right away, was, and these people are crippled, and then they're chasing each other around and like trying to make each other more crippled. What? It's like the biggest oxymoron you can find. And I'm like, I can go hit people again. Yeah. And it's like, wow.
Oh god, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
it's legit for sure. And it's extremely competitive. And then on the cerebral side of things too, it's strategic. You have to have tenacity, but you also need to understand that you need to be cerebral with it as well. And that's what I love about sports already, is the different mismatches. Um, when you're playing, I equate it to back when Steve Nash played in the NBA, and the dude was like way less athletic than most people and shorter than most people and skinnier and scrawnier than most people, but he understood how to create mismatches on the court. And then, Amari Stoudemire got a lot of money because he did that really well. So there was, so like that part of it really, I love the chess match
Right.
in that, I love the chess match in whatever I'm doing. And I win most of the time, except when it's like a chess match with my wife. Then it's like, no, yeah.
I got you. I got you. Man, talk about your family, man, a little bit. And then I want to get into a little bit of kind of what's your future look like. But right now, talk about your family. Tell us a little bit about your family and what do you enjoy most? Like, what's it like in the day at your house, man?
Yeah, day with the Delagraves, man. It's so my wife, her name is April. We've been married for almost 14 years. It'll be 14 years this summer. And then we have three kids, Braxton, Braden, and Brindley. They're 9, 7, and 5, two boys and a girl. And life is a beautiful, chaotic mess right now. With the kids are in sports, and so it's come and go. But one of the things that we do every morning together is we hold hands and we pray together. We've been doing that for the last probably year and a half. It really started in the pandemic because I just had an aha moment. Like, I need to make sure my relationships are solid. Like, not like, when people ask, like, hey, how's your marriage, man? And you're like, oh, it's good. Like, no, I want to say, like, it's on fire, rock solid. Like, we just did a DIY project in this marriage and in my relationship with my kids, like, because I think a lot of times we're going like, well, yeah, like our foundation's built on the rock and we're good to go and like everything's good. But then, like, a lot of times we don't look for those cracks in those relationships, where everything's good, but maybe we need to have a conversation here. And so 2020 was a lot of that for me, where we just started to get to know my kids on a personal level and date them, and of course date my wife and make sure that we're rock solid, because before I can be a good athlete or a good speaker or a good leader, I need to make sure I'm a good husband and father. And so on the day to day, it can be chaotic, but we do a lot of things together, and trying to do things together. And even if it's as simple as just walking around the neighborhood, and be able to spend that time together, that's super important. The other thing that we do a lot is basement basketball with the Nerf slam thing on the door. And so that gets pretty heated down in the basement, but it's good times.
I love it, man. And yeah, your family's awesome, man. Beautiful family, bro. Beautiful family.
Thank you.
What's the future for Joe look like?
About 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I say finally, but it was just another nudge of God going, this is your path right here. I'd done a speaking engagement that I've done over the years, kind of one-offs, like never really called myself a speaker, just more as an athlete who happens to speak. And I remember coming back from that and going like, I find so much purpose in this. Like, rugby has been a passion, and it's been a beautiful career, and won a lot of medals and blah, blah, blah. But man, there's purpose in this. Me sharing vulnerably on a stage can really impact someone's life. And I may not see that impact, but I understand that if I remain faithful and disciplined to this calling, that good things will happen. And that's what's next for me. And, we're 104 days away from our first game in Tokyo for the Paralympics.
Yeah.
And so like, that's the acute, like, I'm excited about that. I want to go and win gold. Like, don't get me wrong. I want to win, and like, no one shows up and like, I hope I lose today type of thing. Like, no, that's not a thing, but really is using that platform for God's glory, and using it to springboard that into a speaking career.
As a speaker, what message do you want people to understand?
My biggest lessons that I've had, and my biggest wins that I've had, all deal with failure. Like, we all fail. Every single one of us fail, probably on the daily. And a lot of times there could be people in your life that should be in your life that are like, man, don't do that. You just bombed it again. Like, that's not for you. Or there's that voice in your head that's whispering, going like, nah, man, you're a loser. You're unworthy. You're inadequate. You're not enough. You're less than. Someone else is doing it better. You don't got enough followers. You don't got enough money. Like, there's so many people or things that point to that failure. But the beautiful thing that happens is when you choose, like, that's the choice, when you're knocked down or you feel like a failure or you failed, and you get to choose to listen to that, to play the blame game, to play the victim card, to play the woe is me, or you get a choice to go like, no, that's not who I am. That's not who God says I am. I'm going to choose victory each and every day. I'm going to choose to get back up. I'm going to choose, for me, it was to get in my wheelchair. I'm going to choose to get in this wheelchair and see this not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to continue on with life. And so, like, that's what I love to show people. Like, you're going to fail and you're going to get a choice. And that's where you're defined, in that choice and how you respond.
Love it. Love it, man. Do you have a dream stage?
A dream stage. Wow. Not really. I don't like, maybe, I think maybe my, like, if I'm being like, let's be honest. I think it would be sharing a stage with people that I look up to in the industry, and being like,
top three.
Well, Daryl will be number one. My man Daryl right here will be number one.
Okay. We got the virtual part check. We just got to do it in person now.
Boom, boom. No, like, top three. I don't know. Like, I'm a huge fan of John Acuff. I
Oh,
really
okay,
like
yeah,
John Acuff.
I like John. Yeah,
Yeah, I like his, I mean, his books and his speaking and his humor and that whole thing. Um, Another guy, he's a pastor. Albert Tate is like, I don't know
I
if
don't
you
know.
know him,
I
but
don't
he's out in
know.
California and he's good, man. He's really good. He's more on the preaching side of things. He's
Okay.
a pastor of a church, but he would be up there as well. Um, hmm, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I like think about that very often, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
I'm learning something here today.
There is no should. There is no should.
Yeah.
And the only reason this is top of mind for me, I just did this. I created my first ever vision board Saturday.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
always been like a hustler, hard worker,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, I visualize stuff as an athlete. I learned that discipline, but it's
Yeah.
usually about like how I show up. It's not necessarily about like this championship moment. Like, and that's how I was in sports. Like, I never visualized winning a championship. I visualized outperforming my opponent, and so it's
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing. Like, I
Yeah.
see myself on sales calls and I see myself speaking and all this stuff. So I just recently put together my first vision board and had some like confliction with it, to be honest. Like, from a spiritual level, I'm like, well, what if God doesn't want this for me?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and not like he wants bad, but just like, there's our plans and in his plans. And so I don't want to like manufacture something and hold on to it when he wants to give me
Yeah.
something better. And then so anyways, one of the things, like, I got this section on my vision board of like speakers who like I want to like share the stage with. And
Yeah.
so that's why I asked that question. It's just top of mind. So I was like, man, I wonder what else is in people's heart, because I don't feel like we express that enough, especially sometimes as Christians. I feel like it's all about like survival. It's just like I don't
It
I want for nothing,
can. That's so good, man. I'm so glad you brought that up because I think a lot of us struggle with this, and I think a lot of times as Christians we get humility wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We want to, oh, we're being humble, and I'm just humble, and all shucks, and it's like, no, you're like,
You're lying.
you're lying. Yeah, yeah, and I got convicted of this recently, like recent in the last 6 months, but really it's really changed my outlook and going like, and I'm still wrestling with it, but going, I was thinking, oh, like I'm just being humble and all shucks, and yeah, I play sports, and yeah, like, no, man, like I'm a Paralympic bronze medalist, and and I have something to say, and I'm a
Mhm.
child of God,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
He's called me into this, and like all of a sudden that momentum, and you start puffing your chest out a little bit,
Yeah.
and then going, well, where's the humble piece come in? Well, before I wasn't being humble, I was just being insecure. And I was
Mm,
hiding behind a shield that I called humility, but it was really insecurity. And
that's
now I'm stepping in
that's true.
obedience into what He's called me to do.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then when the praises come, and when financial stuff comes, you give it back to Him. You give Him the glory.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
humility. Yeah,
Yeah.
you give Him the 10%. Like it's yeah. So it's been. I'm so glad you brought that up, and I'm not the only one over here in this boat, like
Oh,
struggling
no,
with
no,
that.
no,
But
no,
yeah,
man. I remember my pastor called me out one time, and he said he had faced it too. And he said one time, he was doing that, the whole humble thing. His spiritual father said to him, man, he said, don't pull that false humility stuff with me. And so, like, passed it down to me. And I don't know what it was I was talking about, but just talking about, I think, because I'm really good in relationships. And so my evangelistic gift is strong. And so I don't know. I was just like, oh, the Lord or whatever. I don't know. He was like, don't do that, And I remember one time he had okay, this is how it happened. He told me that I was prideful. And I was like, what? Like, that's like
yeah,
everything I'm against. Like, there's
yeah,
no way.
yeah,
I'm like the most non-arrogant person ever. In fact, I think
yeah,
I see myself like lesser than I probably should. So like when he said that, I'm like, there's no way I'm prideful, but I couldn't say that because then I'd be prideful.
yeah,
And so he said, it's pride because you think your opinion of you is higher than God's opinion of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. So I love that you're owning it, man. I love that you're not shying away from compliments, and I love that you're owning who you are and standing in your identity like that. That's what it's about, man. And that's how you shine a bright light, right? And so, man, kudos to you for doing that. You know, I hear that phrase a lot, like use this platform to give glory to God, right? How do you do that?
It's by sharing my true story. I think a lot of times we can manufacture and so for me, like, and there's a lot of different speakers and authors and whatever, like coaches, but and they have their lane or whatever it is. And for me, it's just sharing vulnerably about things that have happened in my life. And hopefully people find hope in that. People find inspiration in being able to look at themselves in the mirror and going, I've got to take some personal responsibility here. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. If I could just to share a quick story to kind of capture this.
Yeah, go for it.
Like God has given me a theme of three in my life that I never connected the dots to until recently. At 13 years old, it was the first three. I was at a youth conference in middle school, saw this really cool speaker on stage. He had a Houston Astros jersey on at the time, like, like the Killer Bees in Houston were like the coolest team. And I'm like, man, this guy is so cool. That would be so cool to be on that stage, and God's gonna be like, you're gonna be type of thing. I'm like, no. 6 years later, I break my neck, and a week before that, on July 3rd, God gave me that verse, Proverbs 3. Trust in me, man. Don't lean on your own understanding. You're not going to understand what's going to happen in your life. But I'm going to ask you to do some things and step in obedience here. And there's going to be some really hard times with it. But trust. Proverbs 3. Those questions that I had at 19 years old, those 3 months in the hospital of, am I going to find a wife? I ended up marrying the girl that stayed with me those entire 3 months, every single day. April, going, God, are you going to give me babies? I want to be able to have kids. Like, I want to be a dad. I have 3 of them. God, am I ever going to be an athlete again? My identity's ripped away. I'm training for my third Paralympic cycle with 3 letters across my chest, USA. I thought my athletic career consisted of being a college Division II athlete. He said, man, I'm going to put a jersey on you that says USA with 3 letters across your chest. At 33 years old, I said yes to being a speaker. I said yes to stepping in obedience to what God has called me to. And that whole beautiful path that he put me on with a lot of exits that I didn't see coming, a lot of times where I fell that I didn't see coming. He's had a purpose all along. And I think everyone has those connect dots that we can get from scripture, that we can get from the Holy Spirit, that we can get from the one that made us and created us. And everyone has hope of a future through his love.
Love it, man. So you're just gonna preach a mini sermon on my podcast, bro? Oh my god! Like what? A man said, if I could just share a little something, three, and then just drops a whole sermon. Like phenomenal, man. Beautiful. I love it. God is the best story. He's the author and the finisher of our faith, and I love it. I love that, man. And wow, He's prepared you for this moment, man. I don't know why, but I do want to land this plane, and I'm gonna land it like I've never landed any episode before. But this will be cool. So while I do something different, I just wanna give you I want to give you 60 seconds, man, and whatever comes to mind when I say this to you, just the word legacy. What does it mean, and what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy, I want to be remembered as a man that loved people, and full stop. Like the second greatest commandment in the Bible is to love your neighbor. Full stop. after my accident, I'm going to riff on this for a second, but after my accident, I had a feeling that I needed to go see my dad, my biological father. I hadn't seen him since I was 5 years old. He had been in and out of prison, making bad choice after bad choice after bad choice, and didn't come to my high school graduation. And I'm like, that's it. And I had a lot of bitterness and a lot of anger, and just thought, man, he's not worthy of that. Like he doesn't deserve that. And I'm like, oh, I need to go see him. Maybe I need to go see him and talk to April about it. And I'm hoping she says no, but she's like, that's a great idea. I was thinking that too. Let's go. You want to go Wednesday, Thursday, whatever? And I'm like, oh, great.
Wow.
And so Thanksgiving of 2005, we ended up going, and it was the most beautiful reconciliation that happened. Not because I went, it was all through the power of God. And I ended up going, and I remember seeing him. He had a green jumpsuit on in the prison. We had some like popcorn and Skittles and a soda like in the visiting area, and looking face to face and seeing the same eyes as mine and the same skin tone as mine, and the mannerisms and the beautiful reconciliation of that. And he passed away in 2016.
Wow.
But I was so thankful for the time we had, so thankful for that reconciliation, that transformation in that relationship. And all that to say, before he passed away, I said, he never went back into prison. He never backslid, and I'm like, hey, like, what's different this time? And he goes, because you showed me love. And man, I don't know if anyone's listening now or later, but I want people to know they're loved. That, there's times in my life with a man sitting in a wheelchair that people have called me less than, or not enough, or unworthy, or maybe in my own head I'm going, I'm not enough, or I'm inadequate, or I'm insecure, or I'm a failure, I'm broken. And I just want you to know that you're not. You're not. Like, that doesn't have to be you. That isn't you. We are all created in the image of God, and you're loved.
Dude, you gonna preach another sermon on my a two, man. Dude, I love it, man. Wow. Here's what I have. I want you guys to see this. Look at this. Can you see that? This is Joe, man, and his beautiful family. Who's who, man? Who's this?
So in the little blue there, that's Brinley. So a couple years ago. She's a little older now, but yeah, she's our little Spitfire girl. And then on my shoulder there is Braxton. He's our firstborn. And then the little dude trying to cheese down there is Braden.
Yeah. Wow. Other things may change us, but we start and end with the family. I love that, man. Such a beautiful family, man. I don't know why. I just wanted to share this with the world. I don't know, somebody needs to see that or something, but that's the first time I end the episode with somebody's family photo. But man, what a beautiful family. And that speaks to who you are as a husband, a father, and home's inspired. I'm sure you guys got challenges like every other family does, but that's such a beautiful picture, man. And dude, I want to thank you, man. I could talk to you forever, and would love to have you back sometime. And man, I just want to say, man, like you're phenomenal and you're inspiring, and I'm glad Clubhouse connected us. And I can't wait to see all the things that you'll continue to do and accomplish. I wish you the best in Tokyo, man. Have fun. Come back with a gold medal.
Let's go.
And that'll be dope. And man, just continue to spread light, spread love, and spread hope. So, guys, I want you guys to go connect with Joe. You can go over to his website at joeldelagrave.com. I just pulled it up on the full screen for you. You know you're at the right place when you see the big smiling family. And then you can also follow him on Instagram at jdelagrave14. Connect with him, man. He's available. He's a great dude. If you need a speaker, you've heard his skill, his talent, great storyteller. And if you just want to like reach out and just say thank you for the message, like do that. I tell you, it never gets old hearing that your message makes an impact. I never forget being at a private training with Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he says people think that I don't still get insecure or wonder if my message makes an impact because I've got experience. And it really made an impact on me because he said one day he did this interview with Oprah, and he comes back and he's like, how did I do? And it's like phenomenal, you know what I mean? And she's like, but he still asked that question, and that was helpful to me. You know, it's a couple years ago now, but it was helpful because I was still in that like feeling like I'm insecure if I desire to hear from people if I made an impact or not. And so we never get tired of that as speakers. It's always good to know that your message made or your story is making an impact somehow. And so like reach out to him, let him know that you appreciate this episode, share it, tag him, and do all that stuff because we just want to share this story of hope and redemption, and that you can have a positive outlook on life and still wrestle with real emotions. And so that is that's what we want to share with you. So Joe, again, thank you for your time, and we love you guys, and stay tuned next week. We've got Miss USA, and I don't know, she's got so many titles, but I know she's a former Miss USA, and I think Olympian. Don't quote me on that, but Terry Britt is all in the bio on our social profile. Sorry, team, if I messed that up. But connect. Make sure you tune back in next week because we're going to bring Terry Britt on, and I'll talk about her life as well. So till next time, remember that no matter what you've been through, no matter how many mistakes you made, that life has a way of awarding us second chances. And second chances exist so that we can finish strong. So go out there and finish strong, my friends. We love you. Peace.